From aid to trade. Innovative approach to public-private partnership. The IRU was one of the first to respond to the UN appeal under the Decade of Action for Road Safety program. As a result, this project began in the spring of 2011 and went on to become a brilliant example of partnership between the state and private business, aimed at solving one of the most pressing problems of our time.
Very pleased when the International Road and Transport Union approached us and suggested this very innovative proposal. It is obviously tied to something which is of great joint interest to both the Union but also to the United Nations.
The challenge is obvious. Where we have more secure road, we have more facilitation of the road transport, and where we have more facilitation of road transport, we have prosperities, and where we have prosperities, we have peace.
Mine action is not only about lifting mines. This is something which is done to the benefit of population of Afghanistan and the region at large. I think the same noble goal is being pursued by your union.
A month later, the first shipment of mine clearance equipment was offloaded from the manufacturing plant in England and began its long journey to Kabul. The road is life. As the old Latin saying goes, via est vita, and the ancient Romans knew this all too well. The roads built back then helped expand the borders of their empire, stimulated the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural values. Some of those roads are still around today. Only instead of camel trains, they're now used for fast travel by modern trucks. The Great Silk Road, revived and upgraded to a new technological level, connects industrial sites to the world market, develops tourism, and makes the people more mobile. The Great Silk Road was the first integration project of the ancient world and is now a prototype for the future of universal globalization. There is probably no other country where roads play as big of a role as in Afghanistan. There are no rivers to navigate, no railway lines, and no sea access. Highways are the only hope. But this hope was one of the first victims of the war, which has raged in Afghanistan for more than 30 years. The main transport routes first became a fierce battleground, only to later become blocked by minefields. Many of these roads are very close to human homes.
This around me is ammunition the team have found today, about 300 meters from the main road.
At least I have seen and heard and been in some of the meetings in Geneva. Basically, this is one issue. Of course, UN is doing a lot of reports, studies, advocacy role, for example, to demine the mines, as you rightly said.
This is a mine clearance base in the Kunduz province. Every day, hundreds of mines are unearthed and destroyed. A sort of museum has been set up here, where some of the mines are put on display after being neutralized. These mines were manufactured in different countries and remained in Afghanistan for many years.
All these mines They come not from Afghanistan. They have not been prepared in Afghanistan. They have not been built in Central Asia. They have devices from Switzerland, from Germany, from France, from America, from Russia, from China. We can all name the different countries. They have invested in these cheap devices, which cost only $10 to $20 per piece, but it costs thousands of dollars to remove them in an area. And a ban on landmines and the non-manufacturing of landmines. That is the lesson we have to learn from all these mines in Kosovo, in European countries, in the civil war-stricken countries of Central Asia, and especially in Afghanistan.
We could see with our own eyes the scale and complexity of the work that the United Nations Mine Action Service is doing along with its partners in Afghanistan. It's very important that the work is being carried out by the Afghans themselves, for whom it is often the main source of income. To make the work of the deminers less risky, they undergo thorough training beforehand. And that also goes for dogs, which are used to clear mines in especially risky situations. There are so many minefields here that for the village people, the mine clearance work being done by international and national organizations in Afghanistan is a matter of life or death. In many villages, there are people who've been maimed by a mine, no longer able to work and live life to the fullest.
These munitions were left from the war. We had nothing to bolster our roof with, and there were no trees left, so we used cannon shells. Mines break lives, kill people, children, animals. Your work lets us lead a secure life. The land surrounding our village was mined. We couldn't gather wood, harvest crops, or send our animals to pasture. Now, thanks to the mine clearance center, we can farm the land and we can trade. Just 200 meters away from my house, I lost a leg when I stepped on a mine. Now things have changed for the better. Before, we couldn't go more than 100 meters from home, but now the area has been cleared and the areas around the other homes in the village are also being cleared. We're asking the international community to keep working on this, to help our children go where they please and lead a secure life.
If any country or any citizen, if ever know the importance of road, that's Afghanistan. Why so? The countries are landlocked.
After traveling hundreds of kilometers along the roads of northern Afghanistan, we witnessed the vital importance of ordinary roads there. Just like in ancient times, they trail various crafts, cultivated fields, and schools under construction. This is especially evident along the highway linking Kabul to the north of the country and to Central Asia, through the famous Salang Tunnel. This remains the only permanent access route for supplies coming into the country from the north. Convoys of trucks loaded with goods for Afghans are now speeding along the same road, which bore the rumbling of Soviet tanks and the flames of battle 30 years ago.
If there are mines on the routes used by international and intercity transport, this will lead to the disintegration of business and other ties between Afghanistan and the rest of the world. We'll be unable to establish normal trade and economic ties with neighboring countries, with Asia and Europe. We need quality roads that are clear of mines.
But to make this hope a reality, there is still a huge amount of work to be done. According to the UN Mine Action Service, 16,000 minefields have been cleared, but 6,000 still remain. This affects 2,000 communities in 33 out of 34 provinces in Afghanistan. Every month, more than 25 people step on a mine, losing their lives or their health. The most tragic thing is that many of these people are children. We asked some first-grade school children, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Teacher. Teacher. Doctor. Teacher.
They are just ordinary children, curious, cheerful, and eager to learn. They love their parents and their homeland. But unlike their peers in Europe and America, they need to know special things to survive, because around here, death is sudden, be it on the roadside, along a mountain path, or at a busy market. Today, the children learn how to live in this dangerous environment. The past 30 years of war have given birth to an entire generation of people who know everything about a machine gun but can barely fix a tractor. This is why it's vital that Afghanistan's economic recovery be accompanied by efforts to educate the population and revive traditional crafts and arts, which once made it a glorious country.
In a sense that the Silk Roads, being the common heritage of humankind, I think it's also important that countries along the Silk Road cooperate using this as a theme to promote the protection and the management of cultural heritage sites. You mentioned your activities of demining in Afghanistan. This is also important for heritage protection, and we thank you for your efforts in this regard.
It was not by chance that the problems of Afghanistan and the development of its transportation and trade ended up on the IRU agenda. Afghanistan's economic growth, as well as transit flows from Asia to Europe, depend on this country's motor transport development, as well as decisions made by its government.
If the well-developed road networks is there, and I think IRU has a fantastic program of TIR, and earlier, way back, if I recall, I'm talking about in mid-80s and so on, there was a big trucking company, for example, in Afghanistan, which went from no matter which part of the big cities, which were connecting through the road, through under the tier arrangements, through Iran, to, for example, Turkey, to Bulgaria, further all the way to Holland, for example.
Yes, the opportunity is still there now. It's all about the UN Customs Convention on the International Transport of Goods, which the IRU has been administrating for 50 years under the mandate of the Economic Commission for Europe. 1 year since the project began, we can now proudly say that thanks to combined efforts, we've managed to achieve and often exceed the goals that were set. There's still plenty of work ahead of us. Millions of square meters of minefields and battlegrounds filled with so-called dragon's teeth. The results of the UNMAS IRU project. 86 hazardous areas cleared. 1,877 anti-personnel mines, 11,000 explosive remnants of war. Direct beneficiaries, 42 communities of over 3,000 Afghan families living in the vicinity of hazardous areas. Indirect beneficiaries, 7 million people. Employment opportunities were created for more than 320 people from affected communities. 4 million square meters of land restored to its original agricultural use. We must learn to clear people's minds as well as minefields. Because if we don't, the same story will repeat itself tomorrow in some other place, wherever killing fields appear. It is something we must do together for the sake of the present and the future of Afghanistan.